Get off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome, you're tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, the NBC News and NBC Sports radio station, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Lab, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. And you're not going to be hearing anything on this show that you're tuned in anywhere else, because I want to balance all the bad news out there. If it leads with good news, good people, and good series. This is Doctors in the House. What day is it? Doctors in the House with myself and
Doctor Tiffanie Tate.
Welcome back to the show. She's a veteran. She's a songwriter, singer. You heard her sing Happy Birthday to Me. She's a playwright. She is a mom and so much more. Welcome back to the studio, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. And I forgot to say author. Welcome back. So let's go straight to breakfast because I use this exercise actually as a way for us to also catch up on what's been going on. So I invite you all, as usual, to take a bite of my gratitude sandwich, which is a good life habit, a hashtag Blissaplan that we start with every show. Top of the bun, what are things outside of yourself that you are grateful for? Bottom of the bun, or modeling for you before you go to bed tonight. What are things that you are grateful for inside of yourself, or appreciation? Because that is the bottom line, the foundation for good mental health, self-love, self-care, self-soothing. Here we go. Dr. Tiffanie, what are you grateful for?
I have so many things to be grateful for, but the number one thing I am grateful for is to be here another day.
Yeah, absolutely. I am grateful that the Dodgers won yesterday. My Thursday co-host birthday present. I am like, people are going to start wondering, oh, that's why you have co-hosts, because they give you presents. Because Dr. Tiffanie gave me beautiful vase. It's over there from Costa Rica, and dinner and dancing. And my Thursday co-host, James Hawthorne, gave me a Dodger game with all the frills. And man, it was the most exciting game I have ever been to. And then my girlfriend texts me back and says, you've only been to 3 games. So, but two home runs, maybe 3 home runs. I mean, it was exciting because we were down at the beginning, but we ended up kicking Seattle's assets. So that's like 3 gratitudes right there. Your turn.
Well, we finally got Nathaniel packed up out of his apartment in Azusa. Woo, woo, woo. So he is not in transport, but his goods are in transport. So yay for us.
Hey, that's great. Sending kids off to grad school. I am grateful that my dad is doing a lot better. He's out of ICU. The clot was in the parietal lobe. So anybody who's familiar with strokes, you as a doctor, I'm sure know, the left-right thing, confusion. And the most frustrating thing for him is he's very articulate. He was driving like 3 days before the stroke. Thank God he wasn't, he's 94. So struggling with expressing himself is the most tough thing to watch. But thank you for all your prayers. Obviously it's working, and I'm grateful.
Awesome. Awesome. And I am thankful that my family has decided to have familial Thanksgiving. Usually everyone has their own Thanksgiving, but we're going to have a reunion Thanksgiving because my mom is one of 12 children. So I have like over maybe 40 something first cousins on my mom's side. So when my family gets together, there's like over 100 of us just on my maternal side, as Dr. Marissa got to see. Not everyone came to my birthday party, but we have a very large family. But we're going to have like a huge Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I went to Dr. Tiffany's 50th birthday celebration, and they called for pictures after. And I saw this giant, like almost all the people there, thinking it was for all the people. And I get up there, and everybody was so kind. They didn't say, this is family only, but it literally was like 90% of the people there. I had no idea her family was that big, but it was lovely. But yeah, she got a big family. It is beautiful. I love your family. They're so adorable.
Well, we're like amoebas. We just suck everybody up. So it would have been fine if you were in the picture.
It was wonderful. All right. Let's go to the bottom of the button, which is, what do you like about yourself? What are you grateful for about yourself? So that before you go to bed, you're not thinking about, what I didn't do, what I should have done, and shooting on yourself, and who done me wrong. I want you to practice and do weight training on what do you like about yourself, so that you can, quit looking for love in the wrong places and learn to love yourself. So what do you like about yourself, Dr. Tiffanie?
I like that I can take constructive criticism because I think a lot of times people don't want to hear the hard truth. And it's good to have people tell you what's not good. And a lot of times we don't want to hear what's not good, but it's good to take that in and grow.
Yes, I am learning to see the value. And I realized that it's hard for me because I was criticized so much that it's like a little death, like death by 1,000 cuts. And so I'm flipping that literally with writing a screenplay called Life by 1,000 Cuts, and learning the value of, balance, not like cutting until you die every day, but cutting enough, like chiseling into the best that you can be. So that's it thank you for joining us for breakfast on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and for our very special Wednesday series, Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
I promise you that if you practice this good life habit for the next 27 days, the latest research is not 21 days, but 28 days to create a good habit, I promise you will sandwich your day in the most positive way. So thanks for joining us for breakfast. And I'm so excited. We have a new topic. I actually picked this topic, and I know I run the 21-day fast from complaining, but today I get a pass because the topic is common sense is uncommon. And Dr. Tiffanie did her great Ask My Assistant Google, and she found a great test that she's going to take us through to see if we ourselves, I'm guessing, have common sense or not. Okay. So did you email it?
I can. I was going to pull it up.
No, you can pull it up. You can pull it up. Yeah.
So let me pull that up. Let's see.
And while she's doing that, Asian Oprah giveaway is 2 tickets to the Catalina Jazz Festival. This is coming up. There's 2 weekends opening and closing. I've been one of the sponsors for that. They've been one of the sponsors for our show. Art Good does an amazing job every year. And so we're starting that little giveaway. The way to do it is go to drmarissa.life and put in Catalina Jazz Festival for subject when you sign up. And that way you will get a pair of tickets.
Let's see.
Did you get?
Oh, here, I'm going to go ahead and just forward it to you.
Okay. All right.
Let's see.
And I will look here. And as soon as that comes in, I will put it up. There it is. Let's see. Common sense test that 90% of people fail. I love challenges. All right, here we go. And I'm going to share. Okay. Skip the. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to get this to share. Share screen. Common sense. Here we go. And big screen. You ready? Should I pause it? Like every time it here, let me see how.
It gives you a timer, so you don't have to pause it.
He goes the wrong way up a one-way street, bumps into several people, goes on the pavement, and takes a shortcut through the public park. He's seen by a policeman, but is not arrested. Why?
Because he is taking someone to the.
He's walking.
Okay. All right. I got that wrong. Did you get
Question
that right?
2. Imagine
I did.
surrounded by sharks. How would you survive?
You're in a what? Stay in the boat.
Stop imagining.
Oh, that's a trick question.
If you are in a dark room with a candle, a wood stove, and a gas lamp, you have only one match. So what do you light first?
The candle.
The match.
This is not common sense. This is like.
Okay, let's focus. A little girl kicks her soccer ball, goes 10 feet, and comes back to her. How is this possible?
She kicked it against the wall.
She kicked it up. The gravity did the rest.
Well, mine's closed.
Question 5.
Yeah, you got it right.
A is the father of B, but B is not the son of A. How is that possible?
Adoption.
B is his daughter. An electric train is moving north at 100 miles per hour, and the wind is blowing to the west at 10 miles per hour. Which way does the smoke blow?
Doesn't it's whatever you said it was.
There is no smoke. It's an electric train. How could a man go outside in the pouring rain without protection and not have a hair on his head get wet?
Just a hat. Oh, without protection. I don't know. In his imagination.
He was bold.
I got that one right.
How is it possible that every single person in an airplane crash dies, but 2 people survived?
They were in the cockpit.
The 2 survivors were married.
I don't understand.
How much dirt is there in a hole of 3 feet deep, 6 feet long, and 4 feet wide?
Not enough?
None, or else it wouldn't be a hole. On a Sunday morning, the oldest girl in a family was murdered. The father was reading the paper, the mother was in the kitchen cooking breakfast, and its girl's brother was playing video games. Uncle George was visiting and was out getting the mail. Who murdered this girl?
Out of the family members, think about it. On a Sunday.
Uncle George, because it was a Sunday and the mail was not delivered on Sunday. If there are 6 apples and you take away 4, how many do you have?
They're all trick questions. That's not the same as common sense. It should be 2, but I know it's
The
not.
4 you took. Question 12. Larry's father has 5 sons named 10, 20, 30, 40. Guess what would be the name of the 5th son?
0. I know they want you to say 50.
Well, I missed this one.
But it's,
Larry. He will be the 5th son because it's Larry's father.
okay,
Before the
really-
Mount Everest
yeah,
was discovered,
whatever.
what was the highest mountain in the world?
I know it's not Mount Everest.
Still the Mount Everest, just not yet discovered. How many birthdays does the average man have?
I got this one.
1.
Just
Mhm.
one, his actual date of birth. The attorney is my brother, testified the accountant. But the attorney testified he did not have a brother. Who is lying?
Whichever one it isn't.
Neither one, because the accountant was his sister.
All right. And there we go. Okay, Dr. Tiffanie. Those were trick questions. They were not common sense.
I picked it because, Voltaire says common sense is not so common. And a lot of times we either tend to not think or we overthink things. So sometimes you underthink, overthink, or don't think at all.
Okay.
And even the Bible says in Proverbs 17:23 that even a fool is thought wise if they keep silent and hold their tongues. So sometimes you have to know what situation you should do. Should you speak? Should you keep silent? Or should you just think about it?
Okay. I'll give you that as a general rule, but I guess in my head when I picked this topic, let me give you an example. I live in a high rise, and the sound is pretty good. You have someone above you. I live on the 8th floor.
Mhm.
I did not pick that floor, I swear, for the number 8, but I was actually moved there, but that's another story. And I would think, which is usually how you start the common sense sentence, I would think that people would not allow their doors to slam shut every time they go in and out of that door, because we live in a community. So I would think, to be respectful, to be caring, you wouldn't do that. And there's someone on our floor that is just, and I've actually said something, and they know I broadcast, and it's still, and it just, no matter what time of day, and I understand sometimes the wind can blow. I've been guilty a couple of times, but To me, that's common sense. Another example, you're in an elevator. Why are you talking on the phone like so loud on speaker? That is to me like common sense. One, don't I can't believe you'd want everybody to hear what you're saying anyways. So to me, common sense is that you don't do that. Last one, we have trolleys. And if you use a trolley to help bring your stuff to your apartment or your unit or your suite, why wouldn't you take it back down instead of leaving it in the hallway or in front of the elevator for a day, 2 days? We're not talking about a half an hour to do it, later. So those are I understand maybe they weren't raised to do that. They weren't raised to not push by you. I had that in China. People were just literally pushing by me. No sorry, no excuse me. And I was getting really, really upset until I caught myself and thought, I remembered studying Hofstede's cultural differences and personal space. Mm-hmm. And that is different cross culture. So I had to take a breath and go, okay, they're not, although I pushed by, so I started adopting, when in row, and they were like insulted. Wow, look at her. And I'm like, hey.
But I think a whole episode on elevator etiquette and rudeness, it could be its own episode, because while we were traveling and even on our cruise in Mexico with my family celebrating my cousin's 50th birthday, when we were departing off of our cruise to Mexico, we were packed with our luggage. And then we took on extra people and we were packed like sardines with our luggage. Another woman was like, "It's my right to get on this elevator." And we were like, "Ma'am, we are to capacity." And she was about to step on Auntie Mickey's toes and everything. And she literally forced her not so small self onto the elevator. And we were like even squished even more. And I'm like, there are certain things that you just don't do when there's like luggage and there's people. And then there were small children. And I'm like, you have to be respectful. And I think that when you talk about common sense, we had that episode of reading the room. You can read the room, you can read the elevator, you can read people's faces. And I think that there's some instances where we have to set the example for small children, because we don't want to teach them that it's okay to be inconsiderate. It's okay to not take into consideration other people, because we're teaching them that it's okay to be inconsiderate. And that's not what we want to do. It's not right. And
okay. And I get that. And this is exactly why I wanted to talk about that is, yes, the proverb says, and yes, and then you turn around and then join me in your earnestness, which is everybody has a right to interpret what is good etiquette, what is considerate or not. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, who is to say that our definition of considerate or rude or not rude is the abiding rule? Okay, because one, cultural differences, one, different experiences. Another good example, kids running around, right? Kids running around in a restaurant, running around in the mall, running around all over the place in an airplane. All right. Is it disrespectful? Is it, and so I have to, it's not easy to do what I teach, right? That's why it's called Take My Advice. I'm not using it, but I'm the first diversity consultant to tell you the thing that we have to do first is check our own ruler and not be so quick to put it on someone else. At the same time, I will say, is it helpful to, people who really want to be more effective? And this is how I get by. I say, if I were doing something that unintentionally that drove you crazy, I would want you to tell me. Like if I have stuff in my teeth, or if my deodorant's not working, I would want you to tell me. Would you want me to tell you? And then let them decide if they want that or not.
Yeah, because I think that's where, we always say common sense isn't common, because if it was, everybody would have it. And we talk about good sense and sound judgment. Everybody doesn't have the good sense and sound judgment. That's why we have criminal system.
Yeah, but if they think they do, but you don't think they do, that's what we're talking about. Like who made you the decider of what is respect? I'm not talking about you, but I mean, I'm the same way. Like, what do you mean you are like ignoring me when I ask you to hold the elevator and you have room and you purposely hit the button so I can't get in? Now, that's never happened. But
well, I can say I'm guilty of it because I'm claustrophobic and I really don't like crowded elevators. So I was really perturbed when we were squished like sardines. And I am guilty of hitting the close button because I have to focus and look in the corner. So that would be me. So if you're coming at me, and yeah, I'm guilty of that. Lord forgive me. So if I don't know you and I think I see a crowd coming, I'm going to hit the close button. So,
okay.
Sorry in advance. But let me tell you this.
Will you tell them that? Like, will you say?
No, because they're not going to see me again because I'm going to hit the close button. But Dr. Marissa, when I was giving my gratitudes, how I said I'm thankful for growth and I'm thankful for constructive criticism. I think that that's where our friends and our family come in because they help us to grow. And that's where our circles come in to help us improve as individuals. And I think that when it comes to our civil liberties, my civil liberties extend to my individuality. Like I can't walk up and punch you in the face. My freedoms extend to my personal space. When my children were growing up, I tried to teach them, okay, Nate, sit down. Okay, Mia, sit down. Okay, you can play and run around at home. Okay, you can play and run around at the park. Okay, in the airplane, this is your seat. You can play and sit in your seat. Okay, I'm going to give you a book to read. Okay, I'm going to give you something to entertain you. I'm going to give you something. That's where parenting classes come in. Hopefully, hostesses and things like that can teach people and entertain kids and give them the little wings and things like that and keep them from running down the aisles. And parents can pick them up and carry them and hopefully make flights better for everybody on board. And other parents can say, hey, do you need some help? Because we are our brothers and sisters keeper. Sometimes people are receptive and sometimes people are cruel, but all we can do is try.
Yeah. And I already missed one break. I can't miss the second one for news and traffic. Thanks for tuning in. We've got people in our cashew gallery. Tom Briggs, nice to see you back. And I'm going to say, I think he's in love with you, Dr. Tiffanie. But we'll be right back. Don't go away. 2 and 2 or peace in, peace out.
Take back back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube TV channel, which houses all 1,213 shows, podcast shows, but who's counting? And we are here, as you can tell, with my lovely co-host for Wednesdays. It's Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And we'll give her a little minute. I want you to tell them about your books that are out, that are children's books. And that way they can go and find something, back to school gifts. Certainly, she's got some very important children's books. Take it away.
Absolutely. I have rhythmic stories for children to help them learn. I have Little Engine Mia Sings, which is a rhythmic story that teaches children about bullying. It is a story about a little engine Mia who gets bullied by Bruce. It is available on Amazon as well as Barnes and Nobles, and also as an audiobook. Then there is Bad Touching that teaches children how to protect themselves. You want to pick up this book. It is a story that teaches children how to protect themselves from predators. It is also available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. And I have another book coming out called Money Matters. It should be available next month. So go ahead, pick this up for your niece, nephew, anyone that you think would benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tiffanie. We're back with a topic that is certainly gets everybody's emotions a little bit involved. I'm glad we're talking about it. It is one of those, there's no right or wrong in this, even though we feel like there's a right and wrong in this. I think useful or not useful will be the measure of common sense. Common sense is uncommon. I say this all the time in my work as a business psychologist, because we have so many people who spend more time at work than you do anywhere else. And if you go into work with an unspoken sense of, we're in America, these are the rules, this is what's common sense, you should know, you should say, you shouldn't say, you shouldn't do, it's not useful. But I'm also allowing myself to air my pet peeves. I want to stroke them today and allow myself not to be bound by my 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa. And there's a new a round of that coming up in Labor Day weekend. So, but we'll talk about that later. Dr. Tiffanie was saying about airplanes, and I just wanted to jump on, and kids. So my kids in a restaurant, the first time my husband and I, when we were still married, took them into a restaurant and they started fussing. We said, in restaurant, that's one of the rules. We can't fuss. If you want to fuss, we can go home, or you can go in the car and fuss, but you can't fuss in the restaurant. And then they kept fussing. And so we took them, paid for the whatever we ate, and then left. And it took 2 times for the kids to understand cause and effect, that wasn't a place to do that. Same, we did it in the store as well. And I'm happy to say that my kids don't do that. And it's, I wasn't taught that. Well, I was beat when I was a kid, so that's a little different story, but we didn't beat them. And I am grateful to my husband, that we were on the same page around that when the kids were young. So not everybody has a 2-parent home. Not everybody has parents who were raised themselves to understand what that is, right? That it is not okay, right? That maybe it was okay for them to do that. They don't know. So I think to be useful is not to assume that people know better. Maybe they don't know better. And that's I try that approach. I don't always succeed, but I try to give people the benefit of the doubt that they just don't know.
Yeah, I remember when Nathaniel had his first tantrum, we were in a supermarket and he dropped to the floor and I just stepped over him and walked away. And he looked up like, well, where did mama go? I mean, I could still see him. I just walked down the aisle and he got up and he wiped his tears off and he just got up and followed me and he never had another one. Because he realized, oh, this doesn't work. And he just
Yeah.
he was good from that point forward.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I have very little tolerance. My kids will tell you they're constantly yelling at me in airplanes because there's two different kinds of cries that I hear from kids. One is the cry when they're scared and their ears hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and that is totally understandable. I don't make faces when that's the case. But when I hear a kid have a tantrum that is because their parents aren't giving them what they want and they escalate and then the parents give it, and so they know that they can escalate to get what they want, I go ballistic and my kids have to tie me down to not say anything. My little one and my old will actually do this to me so I can't say anything. Sorry, I'm admitting it, not proud of it, but it's something I try to work on.
Well, we talked about how what parents could do to help with the eustachian tube effect and, giving them something to suck on or drink on takeoff and landing. But as far as helping with parenting skills, there's always parenting classes to help improve learning about disciplining and improving how to respond to their children. Because a lot of times we learn how to drive, there's all these trainings for different things, but we don't necessarily learn how to be a parent.
Yeah.
And now there's YouTube. And if you don't want to take a real class, you can take online classes. So I think it's okay to admit that you don't know something. And a lot of times people are afraid to admit that you don't know. And what I did
Yes.
learn is that it's not what you know that hurts you, it's what you don't know that hurts you. And you don't know what you don't know because you don't know it. And I think right now, in this age of technological information, everything is at our fingertips. Back in the day, we used to have to go to the library, use microfiche, and do all these other things and catalog cards.
Encyclopedia.
Yes, encyclopedias. Right now, everything is at our fingertips. And so I think it's okay to Google, to YouTube, to search, and to learn as much as you can and to improve yourself.
I just thought of a great, you got a finger on that one. Thank you for that reaction. We love it when people give us the finger, not that one, but this one in the chat. If you've just tuned in, this is Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and my fabulous Wednesday series called Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And I think next week we should do that topic of parenting tips. Both of us have 2 children. I'm always amazed when people have one child and that child is like 3. All of a sudden they're parenting experts. Another little pet peeve. If you have 2 children and they are now out of college, then I will listen to what you're saying about parenting. Otherwise, anyways, I'm getting it all out. But let's do that next week, Dr. Tiffanie, because both of us have 2 really incredible children. I'm not saying that if your children are not incredible, you didn't do a good job parenting. There are so many parents out there who do a great job, and for whatever reason, it's their path. They are not on what you want them to be on a path for. However, I do have some things that I know helped grow my kids into the beautiful inside and out. I did 4 agreements for kids. I do gratitude exercise, all of that we'll talk about next week. Dr. Tiffanie just shared with you a couple of tips that she did so that tantrums in grocery stores can be decreased in likelihood. So let's do that next week. And hopefully I won't forget. I go, Dr. Tiffanie, what are we talking about next week? And she'll go, you said. I said, I got a lot going on with Papa in the ICU. So,
Yeah. I'll give you a pass. I'll give you a pass.
Thank you. I got a pass for last week. But yeah. Okay, back to the topic, common sense.
Yes.
How do we decide who has the right to put? Okay, I'll give you a practical example. I would like to put a little sign, right? Or put it on the community wall for our building, a luxury building, and say, just in case, my definition of what was the word that you used? Not common sense, but respectful. So I would like to test out my definition of respectful in communal living and ask people to not slam their doors, not leave the trolleys in the hallway, and not have your phone on speaker while in the elevator, and pick up your dog's poop or alert the cleanup staff if your dog doesn't make it to outside in the morning. So my idea is to put those things out to the community. The management has already done things like don't smoke. They've never done, well, they've done the trolley, but they haven't done the slam doors, and they haven't done the speakerphone in the elevator. Should I take it upon myself, because you can't be anonymous, to put that up on a community wall? Not everybody reads the community wall, but I would say 60% of the people do.
If I were you, because if you want people to abide by this, I would write a letter to management requesting that they send an email with those itemized things saying, respectfully, I would like for the following be issued too, because those are common sense things. You are paying probably a pretty penny for these things. And I think that those are reasonable requests. And I don't, you probably don't have what's called an HOA, but because you are paying a pretty penny for where you live, and I know where you live. And I think because of that, saying, okay, respectful rules or kind requests. And these are the kind requests I'm asking for. And if they can issue that in an email to all the residents, because if it's coming from you, some people might read it, some people might not. But if it's coming from management, everybody will read it, and at least most people will abide by them. And management can place it in probably the elevator, probably in most lounges or most places that people will see it. And that way you're more likely to get compliance.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not personal. But let's talk about the personal side. When someone is doing something that is not common sense. So let me think of something. Oh, okay. So someone that you encounter regularly, and they literally, when they come talk to you, are like this in your face, and they are or they're touching you when they're talking. And I understand Italians, that is, and some people do that to me, and I do it to them. It doesn't bother me. But if I don't know you that well and you're handsy on me, it is, to me, disrespectful.
Yeah, I get uncomfortable and I just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Can you please remove your hand?" Or I say, "Can you please step back?" If I don't like you invading my personal space, I will step back and say, "Please excuse me." And I set my boundaries, and it is okay to set boundaries with friends and especially with strangers, because you have to respect yourself. And if you can't respect yourself, how can you expect others to respect you? And it's okay.
How about chewing with your mouth open? How about dousing yourself with perfume? How about needing to use a little perfume and deodorant and not bad breath? How about common sense says that we are, when we're in public, we should not be offensive in the way we look, in the way we smell, in the way we sound, in the way we say, right? Common sense says there are, but there are people who come from, other countries, and without intending to sound racist, and also not wanting to go to the extreme, because some of you are like, oh my God, Dr. Marissa, you are going against everything you talk about with value and diversity by saying, you sound like you're saying when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And if you don't like it here, go back to where you came from. I am not saying that. Where's my moose? I am not saying that.
Well,
But where is that line?
I'll say this. We have to value cultural differences. And I will say that there are some people who don't use deodorant, and that's a cultural thing. And if they want to not use deodorant and carry an aroma because that's their cultural perspective, I'm going to respect their desire to carry that aroma because that is their culture. My nose is sensitive and it's going to have to tolerate it. And I might personally wear a little extra perfume so that I can smell myself when I'm in their presence so that it overpowers their scent. Because I'm not gonna choose to smell like them, but I'm also going to not let my nose suffer in their presence.
But
But
then
I'm
your
also,
over perfume
huh?
maybe, but you're using more perfume may offend someone who is either allergic to it or doesn't like that perfume you're using.
But it depends on how much time I'm going to be spending with the person who's not wearing deodorant. So if I'm going to be hanging with the person not wearing deodorant, I'm just going to have to offend the other person, because if the other person who's not wearing deodorant, I'm with them, I'm also not going to offend the cultural person saying, "Hey, look, you smell, you need to wear deodorant." That's their culture. I'm going to respect their culture. And it's I think it's okay for them to be them.
But
And
why is it not okay for the other person to be them if they're allergic to your perfume or if they're offended that you're over perfumed? What
because
makes
they can wear a mask.
Well, then you can wear a mask. Do you see what I mean? Like, what is the line? Where's the line that you're saying whose common sense or whose rule is better than the other rule? Do you
It
see what
depends
I'm
on who
getting
you're
at?
if you're just like, say for instance, if I am walking through a supermarket
Mhm.
and I'm just encountering and bypassing that stranger, but if I'm actually hanging out with all three, then
Yeah.
I know that this person is sensitive, then of course I wouldn't over perfume. Then
Okay.
yeah, I might just wear a mask. But I
Yeah.
also don't want, or I might just suffer in silence. I'm not going to I don't want to offend anybody, because if all three are my friends, that person who is suffering from the perfume allergy might also be suffering from the aroma of the other person. So we'll be suffering sisters together, and um, and it'll be okay, because that's what friends do. We don't want to hurt people's feelings, and we want to be respectful of the other person. Um, because I'm not going to try to change somebody. Now, if someone has bad breath, that's a whole different thing. I'm actually going to say, hey, you have the dragon. Do we, do you want some gum? Do you want a mint? What can we do? And if it's a repeated thing, hey, you may want to see a dentist. You may want to get that checked out. You have halitosis. Let's work on that. So it just kind of depends on what's going on.
Yeah. I think that for me, the key is, if this is you and this is me, instead of me going all the way and like having to swallow or deal with or suffer in silence, or not make the other person come to me, right? Because this is just the way it is. This is in Rome. Neither one of those work. So for me, the answer is I'm going to try to say things in a way that there's a way that someone can go like this and someone can go like this. And for me, that question is, first, give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't know that they're being disrespectful to you, and take the courage to say, we have to work together, or we're going to be spending a lot of time together. And I think it's helpful if both of us know each other's triggers or know each other's preferences. That way, we can use that knowledge against each other. Ha ha, just kidding. We can use that knowledge to make it more effective and pleasant for both of us to work together. That would be my going in statement. And that's how I used it with my neighbor. And I said, I don't think you know that it is really loud, but when I'm broadcasting, even when it's not live and I'm taping, when you come through the door and it bangs like that, I can really hear it on the recording. And she didn't take it well, but I said what I needed to say. And then I'm just going to assume that she is. And then a new person moved in, and they were doing the same thing. So I said, I waited until I met them, so I wasn't knocking on the door. So 2 months later, I got to say that to them, not knowing actually I had been erroneously attributing the bang, all of them, to the one neighbor, when actually it was the new neighbor right across who was also doing it.
Oh.
So I had to, I may have to go back and make an amends to the first neighbor, but I guess that's, that is definitely what I need to be. I actually saw the notice this time. Would be my approach. And we are up to final word here on Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
Common sense is uncommon. What's your final word, Dr. Tiffanie?
My final word is to think before you speak, and remember that your personal freedom does not go beyond your personal space, and to always be respectful of other people, and to keep yourself to yourself.
My final word is golden rule works when people are like you, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But not everybody is you or has the definitions of what is comfortable or not as you. So the platinum rule, which is a little more expensive than gold, so takes a little more effort, is treat others the way they would like to be treated, asterisk, up to a point to come. This and this is the ideal for me. Thank you so much, Dr. Tiffanie. This was a great discussion, and we both also came to the middle on a couple of things, and it's always a delight to have you co-hosting with me. Thank you for joining us in the Cashew Gallery. Thank you for all of the fingers that we got. This finger Tune in tomorrow. I have a very special guest tomorrow. The Institute of Violence, Abuse, and Trauma founder, Dr. Robert Geffner, will be my very special guest tomorrow. So do not tune away. If you are just coming in now and missed this whole fabulous treatise on Common Sense is Uncommon with Dr. Tiffanie and I, just go free subscribe on my YouTube channel, and then you'll get that episode. In the meantime, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Dr. Tiffanie, and now have the best day ever. Thanks for joining us.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa.